Let's talk about bodybuilding photography. I want to begin with why I do this and then why I think it's important. Back in the day, Arnold Schwarzenegger was on the cover of everything. But even with his muscle definition, those images still looked flat. Go ahead a few years, and my partner was an NPC bikini bodybuilding competitor. When she passed away in 2019, I contacted the NPC photographers for some competition photos. I realized she looked so much better in person than in those photographs. Previously, I'd only seen web ones or looked on a phone. This difference led me to investigate how retouching could bring back that sense of depth. Not only could I bring back the 3 dimensions of her body, but I could also correct problems with some of the selfies that she had sent me. I then spent the next couple of months perfecting my retouching skills. To honor her memory, I offered retouching services to people who had suffered a similar loss. Her pictures were important to me as they were some of the few things I had left to remind me of her. But at the same time, I realized just how much better these photographs could be with the proper attention. So that's why I do this. As to why I think it's important and why I think there's a need, that's a function of how NPC handles the photographs. When she first started competing, you could get a pass and be a personal photographer. Now, which makes sense, you have the one photographer taking the images, a one-person photo booth. I recently went to the Vermont NPC competition and wanted to see how things are currently done. A photographer with 2 cameras on tripods behind the judges. He'd click shots. Ultimately, he would make them available to the competitors and post some to the websites. I didn't ask any questions of the photographer at the time so as not to distract him from setting up, but I can guess what happens next. I already had examples from the photographers that I had contacted about her photos. I also know that there's a short time between the session, the competition, and the pictures being available. So I would say you let the camera make the color, contrast, etc. decisions and use the images straight from the camera. Now, I don't want to get too technical, so let me just discuss the results I achieve. The photography style I choose in the camera requires that every image have adjustments. I also don't want the entire area in focus, just enough to focus on you. Jacqueline took pride in her competition suit and the jewelry she could wear, so we would have the suit custom made and then shop for matching items. In addition to making sure none of her gains were lost in the flattening of the image, I'd make sure that the suit and jewelry also looked great. I've mentioned flattening quite a bit. You see depth when you look at the world with 2 functioning eyes. A camera, except for some special ones, takes a photo through just one lens. That's like you walking around with only one eye open. Depth is lost. Retouching enhances shadows and light to bring back that depth in the photograph. It doesn't matter if the pictures are just for you, if you share them to show your progress, if you share them to promote a supplement, or, hey, if you share them to get clients for yourself or your coach, you need to recapture that depth. So why can't you get that from a competition photographer? You may be able to, but let's do some quick math. Let's say you have 20 photographs taken during the competition. I know this is a low number, but it'll make the math a little easier. I take between 15 minutes to 1 hour for each photograph when I retouch. So working quickly at just 15 minutes each, I can do 4 photos per hour. 20 photos would take me 5 hours to do. Now multiply that by the number of competitors, and even that low number would take days of processing. There isn't enough time for a photographer to process that way and still go from competition to competition. Now, as a competitor, you have more photos than most. Look at one while standing in front of a mirror. Do you feel it captures all of your gains? Now, as I said, this is nothing against the photographers who do the photo shoots at the events. There just isn't enough time for them to go through and process the photos the way I do them. So if you're looking to get those high quality, well-defined looking shots, then you need to find a photographer who understands what needs to be done with the photos and will take the time to take care of the photographs and make them looking the best. As a fellow bodybuilder, although I do not compete, I know that getting a good result and getting gains takes time. I also know as a photographer that getting those photographs to look good takes time. So I want you to take a look at those images, see if you think that the images that you have so far are good enough. And if they are, congratulations. And if they aren't, give me a call and we'll take a look at what we can do to give you some awesome photographs to show off all of your gains and impress everyone.